ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. Get yours today at thebuttkicker.com and be sure to use our 20% discount promo code ISCA20.
It is race night here for the ISCA Stock Car Association ButtKicker Cup Series, and this time it's time to crown yet another championship. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the ButtKicker 250 here at the Darlington Raceway. My name is Ola Rampol. I've got Al Kozlowski and Brian Britt in the commentary box with me tonight, with Rob Melnick down behind the cameras as technical director for tonight's presentation. Bound to be an entertaining race around one of the oldest surfaces on the NASCAR schedule. The narrow 1.3 mile speedway should provide us with some very entertaining action here tonight, Al.
Well, it seems like you caught him at a bad time, but yeah, I'm definitely excited to see all the racing that's going to go on. I mean, this is like old school NASCAR here at Darlington, and I think these guys are going to have their hands full.
Absolutely, Brian. It's going to be the case here tonight. I would not be surprised if we saw a lot of these drivers struggling early on. Of course, with the low downforce, high horsepower package being utilized here tonight, that means that these drivers could find themselves spinning those tires all the way up through third gear and up to fourth. It is not going to be a fun night. Worth noting as well, only 5 sets of tires available to drivers, and 5 tires over a set of 183 laps. We were talking about this beforehand. It's doable, but you're not going to have a very fun time doing it.
100%. I mean, you got to think, we got stage breaks at 55. We got a stage break at 110. So, I mean, these guys aren't going to be able to make it to the end of these stage breaks. So, one of these pit stops is going to have to be done without taking tires. Some guys might even, I've heard some guys, a little bit of rumors out there that they might not take tires through both of those stage breaks to try to save that set just in case something happens at the end of this thing. And I think that's actually a good strategy. I'm very curious to see what these guys are going to do, because I couldn't imagine driving on Darlington without taking a set of tires.
We look over how the championship situation swings on out. Of course, we're in playoffs for the Super Cup Series, but that is a story for next week. Tonight, it is time to crown the champion of Season 3 of 2021. Coming into the night, Clayton Hoffman presently leading the points. 21 over Kenny Powell. It really is a 2-horse race. The big story coming into tonight, Clayton Hoffman is a no-show. So Kenny Powell basically finds himself with a free ticket to a championship position. All he's got to do is finish well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's going to have it a little bit easier here, but I mean, this is Darlington. There's nothing easy about this. Even if you are trying to take it easy, I mean, no matter what, Darlington is going to humble you.
Let's see if we can get back in touch with Al Kozlowski. We'll see if we've maybe managed to sort out the technical difficulties. Al, you got us here?
I think I got you. I'm not. Am I coming across clear?
A little bit echoey, but we'll make it work for the time being. Well, Al, what's your thoughts? It's qualified. It's one heck of a track to crown a champion on. No doubt going to be a fun one tonight.
Well, it's definitely a hot one. It's really loose. I went out there and practiced a little bit to see what these guys are going to go through tonight, and it seems like it's really loose. So we get to look forward to seeing some cars getting a little squirrely, more than likely coming off of 1 and 2, and definitely there's going to be a lot of wall riding. If we don't see any of these guys hitting the wall once, then they didn't race at Darlington.
Should be an entertaining night for sure. We take things over to qualifying proper. Currently, it's Travis Manning out on pole position with a 28.050. Brian Johnson is a couple of tenths behind him with a 28.245. From there on back, though, Brian, it is a very tight qualifying order. You got yourself the top 4, which are all just 0.3 of a second away from each other.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see Travis Manning. I mean, he didn't turn a lap in practice at all, but I'm assuming outside of session he probably turned a lot of laps. But what a lap! I mean, we didn't even see a lap like that in practice. So I mean, this guy definitely has had a lot of time on this racetrack, and wow, just the closeness of these guys. I mean, like you said, about 3/10 back to fourth. So I expect an interesting race. But I mean, just almost like a road course in a lot of ways. You really have to make sure you don't make mistakes. I mean, you know, this is one of those tracks where a mistake can compound so easily. If you make a little mistake early and you kind of think about that for a long time, it could easily stick with you and make you make more of them.
With qualifying starting to wrap on up, we'll take a quick step away. We'll let the national anthem have its say, and we'll be back with more with the starting grid in just a few moments.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets regular, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
The nighttime is the right time. Remember what I told all my drivers? Reach up there and pull those belts tight one more time. Drivers, start your engines!
The national anthem has been sung, and the most famous words in motorsports have been spoken. It's time to crown a champion for the Darlington Raceway. It's Travis Manning up on pole position with Brian Johnson lining up beside him on the front row. Justin Levine is down in third with Chad Sullivan in fourth. Corey Cook rounds out the top five with John Mullins at sixth. Chris Johnson now is in seventh.
It looks like we got Wayne Grossi is going to start eighth, and Josh Schaffner would come in ninth. And rounding out the top 10 would be Matthew McMeekin. Coming in 11th would be Greg Wachinski. 12th would be Kyle Labrie. And 13th will be Craig Johnson.
Alrighty, well, 14th is going to be Connor McCulkin, and 15th, Roy Hyde. Kenny Heath going to line up in 16th. 17th, Paul Olson. 18th, Brian Littleton. 19th, of course, Al, you're not in there, so I guess we'll skip over to 19th is going to be Randy Drumhiller. 20th is going to be Paul Regney. Sorry about the confusion there. Saw that Al was still in there. It kind of threw me off a little bit.
Yeah, I jumped in there as a ghost there. 24 car is the one that's going to be battling. I think he mentioned something about if he finishes 18th or better in this race, he can pretty much, am I mistaken? Can he seal up the championship?
That's pretty much the way things are looking coming into this one, Al. It's 21 points separating Hoffman from, your current points runner-up, of Kenny Powell. So he's got to finish well in both stages and, of course, the race. If he can make up 21 points tonight, which with 20 cars shouldn't be that big of a challenge, he will find himself with an easy ticket into a championship seat. And he pretty much just has to finish anywhere. We were talking like 18th on up, just like what you were saying, and he's good to go.
So do we have any tight battles in here? Anybody we should be watching to kind of see, they're battling for a position here in this championship?
I'd certainly say so. You look on back, third on down to the 5th position. That's 53, 55, and 58.5 points respectively. So just 5 points separating 3rd, 4th, and 5th of Chris Johnson, Brian Johnson, and Dan Shamoon coming into tonight. So you got 3 drivers that are all looking to be nice and tight. But don't forget Mackin McMeekin, who is currently 7th place in points, half a point behind Dan Shamoon. So it is bound to be an incredibly tight championship fight coming into tonight for a lot of positions up in the top 5.
Well, it looks like the 41 of Matthew McMeekin, he's going to be in the catbird seat because I do not see Dan Shamoon in the grid.
And Dan Shamoon, another one of those drivers that was a no-show on the night. He will not be present with us, so that is going to allow McMeekin a free ride up into the top 5. The pace car starts to roll. Brian, let's toss it over to you. What do you think we can expect here in this first stage lasting 55 laps?
Well, I really think that all these guys are going to have to try to, they're going to be kind of aggressive in the beginning here, really know how to drive in traffic. I mean, it's one thing to be in practice and driving all by yourself, but as soon as you add other cars to the equation at this racetrack, all heck breaks loose 100%. And I'm curious to see how these guys handle it. I think 3 and 4 is going to be difficult. 1 and 2, definitely the race cars handling a lot different than what a lot of these guys probably are used to in previous incarnations of this racetrack.
Oh, most definitely. Like I said earlier, when I got on this track, it just seems like it's really, really loose. So I look forward to seeing how these guys handle it. Getting ready to go green here.
Coming around through turns 3 and 4, it will be in the hands of Travis Manning once that iRacing safety car pulls down the pit road. Pace car is off. It's time to crown a champion. Thank you for joining us on another beautiful Thursday night of racing action. Waiting for the green flag as they come off of turn number 4. Green flag drops. We are underway from Darlington, and wheel spin is the story. Heads up 3 wide already. Down the front straightaway, Justin Levine had to go to the bottom to avoid getting run over by Corey Cook, but he's going to back up for the middle groove. So they're side by side. It's a top 2 breakaway up in front.
You're not going to see much of that side-by-side battling except the pass here. These guys, they're worried about the low car on the inside line, is worried about the guy on the high side hitting the wall and bouncing off the wall and coming right down and taking them out. So we're not going to see much of that side-by-side battling, and passing is going to be a pick-and-choose opportunity here.
Yeah, I definitely agree totally. I mean, side-by-side battling, I mean, even if you risk a wreck, I mean, you're still going to be slowing each other down so much you can't really run the optimal line with your side-by-side.
Already 1 lap complete, and it was Travis Manning to lead your opening lap by a 1/4 of a second over Brian Johnson. Already 3rd place starting to reel him in. Oh, Corey Cook getting up into the wall and sliding down to the apron right down there middle of the track. He's going to be losing a handful of spots here out. I would not be surprised if we saw him drop out of the top 10 before turn 1.
Nolan, I don't want to tell you this, but Corey Cook was my pick to win the race. And we all know how that usually ends.
Yeah, sounds like you definitely have, put the broadcaster's curse on him for sure. But definitely Travis Manning looking very strong out here right now. A lot of guys out there looking pretty strong. I mean, I think it's going to be really all about minimizing your mistakes here. Because, I mean, I think everyone, just like you kind of mentioned before, Al, about, hitting this wall. I mean, you don't race this track unless you get that Darlington stripe.
Yeah, this is all about tire preservation. These guys are all going to, well, there goes 64 car, just catches the wall there a little bit. But you want to preserve these tires and minimize the wear on them as much as you can here, because otherwise it's like driving on Jello tires. I mean, the car is just going to be all over the place. There's already a little wobble coming off of turn 2 on the backstretch there. We'll watch some of these guys as they back end kind of get a little squirmish on them.
One driver who was coming into this one in the championship fight for the 3rd position was Chris Johnson. He's already had a less than optimal start to his day. Missed the starting grid call, and he is starting this race 3 laps down, currently on course, but he's only on his 2nd lap while your leaders are already on their 5th, and he had only 2 points separating himself and Brian Johnson, who's up in 2nd place. So I think it's safe to say that Chris Johnson could find himself being dropped to the cusp of the top 5 before the end of the night here.
Oh, it's a long race. Anything can happen. I mean, we might have a caution come up here, and he'll be able to get a wave around and get one of those laps back. He's got plenty of opportunity to get back on the lead lap.
Yeah, I mean, I agree totally, but the only thing is about Darlington, you'd expect a lot of cautions at this racetrack, but it's not actually a racetrack that has a lot of cautions. I mean, a lot of times people go down, when they do wreck, they go down onto that apron, and it does not bring a caution out. So, I mean, you got to think Darlington has a huge apron.
Yeah, it almost looks like it's you can go 5 or 6 wide here, and you could if you really wanted to, but it's not going to end well.
Just had a swap for P7. Corey Cook making a slide job pass on Josh Schaffner that was coming down into turn number 1 and got the pass complete for the 61 machine to put himself back into 7th place. So Corey Cook starting to fight his way back up to the order. Good news is he does have 2 competition cautions to help him out here on the night that he'll be able to utilize to maybe work himself further up through the order and maybe get himself a win here tonight. Also into this train, apart from Schaffner, you see Greg Wyszynski running 3rd in line. Matthew McMeekin right in behind at the edge of the top 10 with Roy Hyde, the first driver outside of the top 10, and ended off this 4-car train down in P11, Brian, on that outside line.
Yeah, and Kyle Bree in 12th, I'm sorry. He's back there racing with Brian Littleton right now in 13th. 14th, Kenny Powell. 15th, Randy Drumhiller. 16th, Craig Johnson. 17th, Paul Olson. And rounding out 18th is Connor McCulkin. Of course, 19th right now is 2 laps down, along with Paul Regney, who is 3 laps down. Chris Johnson, of course, being 19th.
Well, we got to remember that we want to mention here and keep that in mind. Kenny Powell, he literally does not have to race this race. All he really has to do is stay above that 18th position. If he can finish anywhere from 17th on up, he's kind of secured his championship. So he's going to race this race very cautiously to make sure he doesn't hit any walls or get involved in with any other wrecks or tangles with another driver.
Keeping your nose clean, always the key to success in one of these races. You want to finish up high, step 1, keep your nose clean and don't find yourself in any wrecks. Worry about the positions later. Oftentimes in tracks like this, they will come to you. You mentioned earlier, Al, about how you can go possibly, 5, 6 wide at this facility. You have the room for it, but not in the turns you don't. I mean, technically, again, you do, because it's only really a suggestion that these guys run up the banking up there. And in fact, I remember when Darlington was first created, that banking was originally not even supposed to be raced on. It was only there to slow the cars down if they shot sideways. But the drivers figured out it was just faster to race up on the banking, so they just went up there. And the racing line, well, it hasn't changed since. And I'm glad it hasn't, because it's given this track one of its best characteristics in all of the NASCAR calendar.
And you know what really gave this track the best characteristics was that pond whenever they were building this track. I mean, they were meaning to make this track a 1.5-mile racetrack, but that changed because of a pond that exists there locally that doesn't exist there anymore, but that's what, kind of made the construction a little bit different.
Yeah, definitely give it some character here, and it's a very, it's the track too hard to tame there. We've got somebody at pit road.
One driver coming down early, that's Paul Regney. He was already several laps down after starting this race and was damaged now on the left front. No doubt clipped the wall somewhere and decided to bring that one down. Didn't want to risk it staying out there too much longer. So the 59 car is going to come down pit road. And is he calling it quits? Doesn't look like it. He's going to get a set of fresh rubber on there and take it back out there. 13 laps in, though, you only got 4 sets of tires now. You're going to have to space them out. We're talking 50 laps now. You have to space those tires out. That's a risky call to take tires so early on.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, considering you can't make it through this whole stage without having to pit and this is one of the worst pit roads, one of the most difficult pit roads to actually negotiate properly. And if you're on older tires when you do it, it just becomes that much harder.
Yeah, so we can let the our viewers see this. We're going to go in car here. I don't know, we're in car with the 5 machine of Greg Wyszynski. Let's watch Greg, and I'll tell you when he would have to, or what he would have to do in order to get on pit road. Right now he's coming out of turn 2, and right in the midst of entering turn 3, he would have to make a sharp left, because if you look to your left, and probably almost to the exit coming out of turn 3, you'll see pit road entrance right there. You see it to your left, right there it is. So he almost would have to get on that apron, slow way down, and not hit the barrier wall.
Yeah, it's so easy to overshoot that pit. I mean, literally, I think it is one of the most difficult, pit lanes in NASCAR, I'd say, to negotiate.
I'd argue one of the most difficult pit roads in motorsports in general in North America. It's such a unique pit road entrance, shall we say, to try to get down. It's definitely one of the most difficult ones in at least the oval side of racing in all of North America to try to find your way in. It's far from easy, and it's one of those things you have to slow up for a lot more than you think you do, especially with how fast that commitment zone before the speed limit comes on up on you. And of course, you know how iRace it is. You and I both know, Al, Brian, and myself. You get 1 or 2 miles an hour over. That's all it's going to take. They do not have any leeway. And those police officers down on pit road watching for speeding, they show no mercy to anybody.
There's absolutely no grace period. You don't get a mile over. I mean, you can get a mile under, but you go a mile over and you're black flag. And a black flag penalty here is about 40-second hold. And 40 seconds will put you 2 laps down in no time flat. Looks like Greg Wachinski comes around the inside of the 61 machine, and he's going to gain that position. But he's getting really close to that wall. The longer these guys wear these tires out, the closer that wall is going to get.
But good on him for staying off that wall. I mean, that is so hard to do. I mean, he got so close to it, inches off of it. But, I mean, we got some contact behind here. Roy Hyde, I think Corey Cook, actually.
That was Corey Cook, and Matthew McMeekin that went to the outside wall. Looked like the 41 car was trying to side him with the 61, and just misjudged it horribly wrong. Sent the 61 car hard into the outside wall. No caution, stayed green. Kyle Labrie had to really get on the binders to avoid that one. I would not be surprised if he needed a change of race trousers. Corey Cook might not be feeling too happy with McMeekin after that move, Al.
Well, I definitely don't think there's going to be any love here. Let's see. You want to get on somebody's bumper here, and you can almost make a perfect spin look like an accident here, but I don't think Corey's got the car. It doesn't take but a little bit of damage to your car to make it absolutely undrivable and very slow.
Well, and you mentioned about, undrivable and very slow. It's very difficult to set up a race car for this track. I mean, both corners, or both sets of corners, are very difficult to set up. I mean, very different.
Yeah, as we're seeing now, we see the damage on the rear end of that 61 of Corey Cook there. I don't know where he got rear end. He might have got punted a little bit there, and he probably is going to look for some retaliation, but he's not going to be able to get it. And this is not the track to drive hot-headed, most definitely, because you'll end up, the driver that you're going after will hit his lines and make all his marks, and then you'll miss yours and slam right into the wall. And if you hit that outside wall, it has like a trampoline effect, I would say. Hit it, it's going to bounce you square down into the inside the track here. And if you're lucky, you'll hit it on a straightaway. If you're unlucky, you'll hit it in turns and you'll be in serious trouble.
Well, I got to mention Chad Sullivan out here doing a pretty good job. He's starting to reel in Travis Manning a little bit. I mean, Travis Manning was up to about a little bit over a 2-second gap, and now Chad Sullivan's starting to maybe do some work here.
Sullivan, of course, is your P2 racer at the moment. He started in 4th place and got himself second very early on, thanks to some of the wheel spin that was going on early on with 2 of the cars down low. Took 2nd place at the end of lap 1, and well, he's held that one ever since. He's currently sitting 1.8 seconds behind Travis Manning. That is at the moment. It is kind of flexing a little bit, but overall, kind of hovering around the stagnant area. I've seen it jumping up to about 1.84 on this last lap, but I've also seen it drop down to 1.73. Overall, though, I think he is closing in now just a little bit more.
100%. I mean, even last time by, I mean, Travis Manning hit a 30.732, while Chad Sullivan hit a 30.665. So he's hundredths, at least, a half a second, or not a half a second, a half a tenth faster than him right now.
Nolan, I had a little bit of a microphone issue getting on this tonight, so I missed the windows for pits. Are we going to have to pit in stage 1 for fuel?
Yes, sir, we will. With the stages being so long tonight, 55 laps just for the first stage alone, you cannot make one stage on fuel. So you will be seeing green flag pit stops in all 3 stages tonight. That always has the capabilities, Al, of throwing up some real wrenches in the works of these races. The fuel strategies, they're never far off from making the race entertaining.
Nolan, we're in car right now with Chad Sullivan in P2 here. Let's watch how much he's seesawing at that wheel. He's just really reefing it to the left here. That's going to last, maybe about 10, 15 laps of doing it like that. And eventually your car is going to push towards the wall. So let's watch and take a ride along with him real quick. You know what would benefit Chad Sullivan right now is if he has a ButtKicker system on there. They will be able to tell him when those tires are breaking, when they're going to get squirrely. There will be a reaction for his ButtKicker system that will tell him kind of check up a little bit here when he's braking way too much.
You're using yours, I would hope, Al?
I wouldn't start this race without.
Up front, you can see Paul Olson just pulling aside. Olson, of course, 1 lap down already, down to the 18th place. The current Lucky Dog driver letting the lead lap cars through, not wanting to necessarily play spoilers so early on. Not when you've got yourself, we're talking 140 plus laps to go yet here. But I'll tell you what, as we start to get closer and closer to that pit window, Brian, it does make you wonder. You were talking about how you need to kind of ration out the tires early on. With only having 5 sets, what's the call? Do you come to the tires on this first stop, but then take none of the stage caution? Or do you wait to take the tires until the stage caution?
Yeah, I would wait to take them at the stage. I mean, I just feel like, taking them right now, I mean, you want to have extra sets left. I mean, I would probably be in the strategy of, like I said, not taking any tires during both stages, except for, on those stage actual cautions. That way you could save those sets for that last stage, which I think that's going to be the most important thing. But then again, I kind of could feel why someone would make a different choice considering how hard it's going to be to work through traffic here. Track position is going to be very important.
But definitely, we've seen what fresh tires, how squirrely your rear end gets on fresh tires. So it may be a wise decision to not take them during your pit stop for the first time here. Because if you come out there on them fresh tires, obviously you're going to be faster. You'll gain a lot more positions back, but you also stand a chance of being really squirrely on that rear end.
100%. It seems like some guys have already decided to maybe take some pit stops already.
So far, the two main drivers that have come down have been Chris Johnson and Paul Regney. I haven't seen anybody else come down that's been at least for a scheduled stop. We saw Reggie come down, but he already had damage on his left side pretty significantly from a hard hit to the wall. Not to mention he was already 7 laps down as is, and well, he has since taken his car to the garage. So has Chris Johnson, by the way, who is now 17 laps down. The only other two drivers out there, Connor Mulligan and Paul Olson, have both gone laps down by themselves, just from on-track pace. It's not a very long track. It does look long, but it's only 1.3 miles. That's only about a third of a mile longer than Dover is. It's not that long of a track at all. The lap times click away fast here. That's part of why we're seeing so many drivers already being so split up throughout the running order. I mean, I'm already looking up at Craig Johnson. He's the last car on the lead lap at the moment. He's currently coming around through turn 2, while Matty's entering turn 1.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely not the biggest track at all. I mean, it's about a mile and a 0.33, I do believe it is. So definitely not the biggest track at all. I mean, I would say you could probably turn about the same laps as a mile and a half track, but this is a lot more of a difficult track. I mean, these guys are dealing with so much. My heart goes out to them, to be honest with you. I mean, I am from Darlington County. I have been to this racetrack so many times. I would never want to actually race on it.
It's most definitely, I call it like those old-fashioned diaper pins, it's wide on one end of the track and it's really narrow on the other end of the track.
A lot of people liken this track to Gateway, or they maybe liken Gateway to it, which is kind of a surprising idea considering, I mean, you do have to shift at Gateway, but I think they both have pros and cons because the walls here, they bite you.
Oh, yeah, they absolutely do. And, I mean, don't get me wrong, Gateway's walls bite too, but I'd honestly argue that Darlington's are a little bit more, shall we say, threatening, particularly because you can find yourself sliding down and slamming to the inside barrier. The speeds you carry around Darlington are just so much higher than what you got at what is now the Worldwide Technology Raceway. So it's going to be an interesting sight to see if we get any of these guys, thinking that maybe they want to stay off those walls a little bit more. We've already seen some drivers like Greg Wychinski making moves, and they've been getting a bit close to those walls for comfort. But when you hit those walls, I think you hit the nail on the head, Brian. They just suck you in, and realistically, there's no getting off them.
Yeah, when you grab that wall, it spits you out. It spits you right to the bottom of the track. That's definitely, it's okay if you're by yourself, but you can't get that car slowed down enough not to catch an inside wall. If you're lucky enough to clip a wall and get spit right out and not hit the inside wall, there goes Greg Wychinski clipping the wall again. I mean, that's not going to be good for his car in the long run.
He wasn't the only one. Connor Mulligan also slammed the wall just off of turn number 2. No caution, though, for the number 11 machine, but it goes to show just how, at a risk, you can find yourself at tracks like these where the race surface is so narrow. You got to race the track almost more than you can race anybody else. We're also talking about some drivers wanting to come down pit road. John Mullins looks like he'll be the first of the major takers. He started 6th place. He's now outside of the top 10, dropping down to 14th place. Looks like Mullins will be the first driver in for scheduled pit stops halfway or just over halfway here through stage 1.
Yeah, and what's really interesting about this track, because the track surface that you race on actually is so narrow, lap traffic becomes even more dangerous. I mean, these guys, like you mentioned, you really have to race the racetrack. Well, how are you supposed to race the racetrack when you got to get past lap traffic?
Very, very careful.
Brian, you mentioned that, you know, drivers are going to want to take fuel on these first stops. John Mullins didn't hear you. He took 4.
Very interesting call. I mean, he's going to definitely be sacrificing these tires for later. I mean, I don't know how that's going to work, but I would say on next stage he's going to definitely have to forgo a set of tires in the middle of that one.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. He's probably not going to get a set on the second one, and that's not going to benefit him whatsoever, because the end of that second stage, you're on the home stretch. I mean, you do not want to be out there on older tires starting that race. It's not going to be good for you.
Battle for the race lead is starting to pick on up. Travis Manning has lost significant time back to Chad Sullivan. The gap is down to just 0.28 seconds, now under a quarter of a second, and Justin Levine wants to party just in behind as well. So it's a 3-car battle for the race lead coming down to the turn number 3. Any second now, we're going to be seeing Sullivan making that look out, trying to go for the lead around Travis Manning.
Oh, and this is where lap traffic is going to play a factor here. If lap traffic in front of Travis Manning is not courteous and not nice to him and not pull out of the way, he could be held up, and Chad Sullivan and Justin Levine, they could get up in there in the inside of him and pass him for the lead.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that could definitely play out. It looks like he's just going to let those guys go. No, he's actually taking a green flag pit stop, so we get a front row seat on what that looks like. As look out! He actually misses pit road.
Very
all that
easy.
run up, and I never thought he would have missed that one out.
And those tires are so old.
You can't turn left. I mean, the front end of your car will not grip this and make you turn easily. I mean, you've almost got to do it cautiously. And we just seen it firsthand, how he came in hot and thought he could make that entrance and just missed it. He's going to go from first, probably down and out of top 10.
Brian Johnson is also down into pit road. This means that it's now a 2-horse race of the battle for the race lead, effectively coming out of this one. Manning makes a second attempt to come down pit road. This time is going to be able to make it down safe and sound. For the lead, though, it's Chad Sullivan versus Justin Levine. They got held up a little bit by lap traffic, but they've been able to survive that one so far. But already I can see Sullivan starting to build a little bit more of a gap over that front line driver of Justin Levine.
And I'm very curious how these cars are going to handle once, some of the fuel's out of them. I mean, we've seen them being loose pretty much the entire race. I mean, that just only makes them looser. Lighter car equals less grip.
Well, you'll see the difference in the times between somebody that's just got a full tank of fuel and some of these leaders. The difference is probably going to be about a second, almost a second and a half a lap in time.
Roy Hyde back here in 6th is taking his green flag pit stop, so he's going to be sacrificing a lot of positions. Curious to see whether he's going to take tires. I mean, have you guys seen, what's been the main thing? Are people taking tires?
Well, here comes the second part. The leader, Sullivan, he's going to come up and relinquish the lead and give it to Justin Levine, and he's going to come in and get those tires. So let's see. I bet you Justin comes by the next time by here.
So far, out of the 3 drivers that have made scheduled pit stops, I have only seen Travis Manning taking fuel only. Roy Hyde's also in pit road, as you mentioned, Al, and he is also taking a set of 4 tires. So Travis Manning at the moment is the only driver that is elected to take fuel only with just a 5.1 second stop. Everybody else, 14.5 and up. Chad Sullivan comes down to his pit box. Doesn't overshoot. Is he also taking 4 tires? He is. So it might look like Travis Manning is the odd man out on the fuel-only strategy.
I think it's actually a very smart call. I mean, I feel like, not taking tires, I think he's going to have that set later, and he's really going to be able to make something happen with them. I mean, we'll have to wait and see, but, I mean, all these guys that are taking tires are definitely going to have speed right now, but you can't have that temporary mindset. You always have to look for the long game.
Yeah, most definitely. The only reason you would take tires now is if you believed there was going to be about 3 or 4 cautions during this race. But as you've seen, and historically, most of the time with this division here, we don't have a lot of cautions. So I'm watching Greg Wyszynski. He also is going to take 4 tires in field. So I don't think that's going to be the smartest move. I think that Travis Manning, he made the game-winning change here.
Also, you got
Travis
to.
Manning. Oh no, go. I was just saying. Go
Sorry
ahead.
about that. No, I was just going to say, I mean, you also have to keep in mind, too, a lot of these guys are looking for stage points. I mean, we've talked about how tight the battle is between 3rd and 6th in the season standings. So, I mean, these guys are really going to want to get a stage win. So I could kind of see it from their perspective, too.
You wanted to talk about the pace that Fresher Tires gives. Well, look no further than Chad Sullivan and Travis Manning. Sullivan made that pass, reeled in 4 seconds in just 2 laps up to Manning, and just breezed past like he was standing still. The only reason why I didn't get by him sooner, got held up by a lap car of Brian Littleton. Rossi comes down to pit road. There are now under 10 laps remaining in stage number 1. Those fresh tires are going to do Sullivan well. You know, we're talking maybe here in these final 10 laps of the stage, but Manning could very well come on down in about 7 laps time, get more tires. He's not going to go a lap down, and he'll be able to just breeze past the other guys like they're standing still on the restart.
Yeah, stage 1 ends at lap 50, right? So
55.
55. Okay, so we do 55, 55, and 73. Okay. Yeah, I definitely don't believe anybody can make it on field, and I think late pitting. Josh Schaffner's thinking about maybe late pitting. I don't think that's going to benefit him. But if Josh Schaffner gets as far out as he can, maybe he can make it 48, 49 laps, and he takes tires. He'll be on fresher tires, about 12 laps fresher tires than the rest of the guys who already pitted. So that might be okay.
I feel like really, I mean, I think it's not that far of a jump to actually be able to make it to the end of this stage. I mean, I think some saving, if you really, really just don't be aggressive at all, you know, be off the gas as much as you possibly can, you might will be able to stretch it. Could that be something we see later?
It definitely would be an interesting venture here, but I don't believe with a 75% fuel tank these guys have underneath them, I don't believe they can do 55 laps on a fuel run.
I mean, Josh Schaffner's out here doing it right now. I mean, he's on lap 51 now. Can he make it? I mean, I don't know.
That would definitely be really big for the stage points if he's able to. If he and Matthew McBeacon both have to come down, though, then that actually means that John Mullins is actually in the catbird seat to win stage number 1. He is 6.6 seconds up from Chad Sullivan because he came down 8 laps sooner than Sullivan did and also got fresh tires. He was able to make up a lot of time on track in clean air, so that has given him the on-track position over Sullivan. Now, that gap is closing. It's down to just 6 seconds now, but it's not closing fast enough that he'll be able to make that pass Sullivan Mullins before the stage is complete. Josh Schaffner, though, he's trying to go the distance, and here's the other thing to really be careful about. Pit road closes in just 1.5 laps. So if Schaffner is going to be coming in, it has to be either this lap or the next one, or he's not going to be able to come down pit road, and he's going to have to live with his decision. Coming down pit road this time by, though, for the number 50 machine. He can't make it, and he overshoots.
Oh, my word. That is the worst thing ever.
Yeah, he's going to run out of fuel now. Now, let's watch and see if John Mullins or Chad Sullivan already pitted. So, yeah, that's definitely going to hurt Josh off. That's a big mistake.
Well, I think that really answers the question, can they make it through a stage? I mean, even if you're taking it easy. I feel like Josh probably was our hopes and dreams there, but it doesn't seem like he can make it, no matter what you do. So,
I think
wow.
He's out. He's out of fuel.
That engine sputtered, and it just shut off. Schaffner coasting this one down to the pit lane. Can he get in time before pit road closes? It has to be when the leaders cross the line. He is just barely going to make it in at the buzzer.
Wow, what a close call there, but he still has to make it to his pit. I mean, he should be able to do it. He's rolling 40 miles an hour. He's going to be safe with no speeding penalties, but that's
one of those times where you really want your pit lane, your pit spot to really be closer to the pit entrance. I mean, usually you want to at the pole position or be as far front as you want. I mean, but really that's going to help him out if he didn't qualify well.
Let's see if he takes 4. It looks like he's just going to take fuel only, which is a smart move because he can get tires on the stage at.
Final lap for stage number 1 starting now. John Mullins has 2.8 seconds to work with over Chad Sullivan. Sullivan's closing fast, but he's not going to be closing nearly fast enough to be able to go and get that stage win. So Mullins came in 8 laps sooner, and because of that beautiful pit call with taking the tires, he is going to get the 5 bonus points that winning stage 1 gets you. So John Mullins just has to navigate turns 3 and 4 one more time at the Canterbury number 64 Chevrolet Camaro ZL1. Off of turn number 4, John Mullins, your stage 1 winner.
Wow, what a run from John Mullins. I mean, to be able to make that call to pit when he did, I mean, wow, great job for him. I mean, everybody in the field did an excellent job. I mean, caution free for that first stage. Love to see it.
Absolutely. And then that was, but you got to remember, John Mullins is going to have older tires than everybody. So on this restart, does he become a victim? I mean, obviously, we know that Schaffer's going to have the freshest tires out there right now, unless some of these other guys come in and get another set of tires, which would be crazy. I mean, if I was Travis Manning, I might come in and get my tires. I don't know. This is a rough call here.
Yeah, I feel like if you did not take tires during that, the middle part when you had to pit, I think you definitely need to take tires now.
Well, guys, what do you say we give a big shout out to ButtKicker here, and we take a break during these caution laps and come back soon.
ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. Get yours today at TheButtKicker.com and be sure to use our 20% discount promo code ISCA20. ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing.
Simple. You hope for a caution and get that lucky dog. But all that pit stop strategies near the end of stage 1 has definitely trapped a lot of guys here a lap down. It should mean we're in for one entertaining stage number 2 with pit strategies up and down the board. Watch to see which one is going to prevail. Justin Levine leads them back to green and for stage number 2.
Yeah, I'm shocked that these guys are all lapped down like this. That's insane.
Well, what's really interesting is I was looking for the 24, kind of trying to watch Kenny Powell here to see where he's positioned. He's in a 7th position. He's got all those cars that are a lap down. He's like, if you look at the field, he's like 13th car back. I mean, and he's actually in the 7th position. So he has lap cars in front of him that are going to try to battle to get back in front of Justin Levine to get back on the lead lap. And that's very dangerous territory.
Battles on for the race lead, side by side across the line. Sullivan down the inside of Justin Levine, trying to take away the race lead in turn number 1. It looks like he'll just be able to pull clear. Levine had the outside run. It'll not work for it this time around, though, off turn number 2. It's a much better run that works off of turn 4. So looks like Chad Sullivan takes the race lead away early from Justin Levine, who drops down to 2nd. Wayne Grassi, meanwhile, going to go down the inside of stage 1 winner John Mullins, and Mullins losing a little bit of pace. He might not have taken any tires under that stage 1 caution.
Well, he might have just took fuel. Let's see how Travis Manning is doing in this whole mix here.
Travis Manning, one of many drivers that was a lap down, had to come down and fix some damage. Still has left front damage on his front line, number 22. So it's not a good time at the moment for your pole sitter, who finds himself down in 14th place here, Brian. One of the biggest drivers going backwards.
Yeah, and you mentioned before about, how fast this racetrack is. I mean, you can't have front-end damage. I mean, a little bit of side damage from hitting the wall is okay, but as soon as you get that front-end damage, you run the risk of maybe running hot, or you run the risk of just being slow.
Well, I do know from experience that in a race I ran last night, I had bounced off the wall and caught the inside wall square, right on the nose here. And I had 23 seconds worth of damage. I got that 23 seconds worth of damage. I took off a little tape, but it still blew up. And there was no sign whatsoever that the engine was going to fail on me. I had no oil pressure dropping or anything, and it just failed. So that's something we got to watch out. These guys got to watch out for tonight.
Well, right now I'm looking back here at Kenny Powell. Josh Schaffner getting around him right now. I'm sorry, that's the 22. Oh, my bad. That's Travis Manning actually making the pass there. But he is also 1 lap down. There's some contact there between the 83 and Kenny Powell. Kenny Powell loses it, and he's down on the apron.
Craig Johnson checked up big time. Did not want to be 3 wide with Manning and Brian Johnson, but Brian Johnson also checked up in the midst of this. Kenny Powell was caught completely off guard. Now he has got major front-end damage. Now, the good news for Kenny, he's just got to kind of run this one slow. The way it sits right now, he is your Season 3 champion of 2021, so Kenny Powell's just got to really ride around here and just kind of play this one safe, let that car cool off, and he should be able to get away with that.
Yeah, you most definitely do not want to, like we just mentioned earlier, you don't want to press your luck, because if Kenny Powell blows an engine, that is 33 minutes on pit road while your crew puts in another engine.
Well, this just in, John Mullins down pit road. That 64 Chevy down pit road.
Big news for your stage 1 winner. He'll almost certainly be losing a lap here with this one. Got a little bit more of that left front nose damage. So now the question is going to be, of course, is this scheduled, or is this calling it quits for the number 64? He has gotten his 5 bonus points from winning stage number 1. Coming in his pit box now, we'll have to wait and see if he stays in that car or if he's going to be jumping out and maybe taking him out of the garage. He's taking it out. John Mullins out of the race almost immediately after winning stage 1.
He knew it was time to call it quits. He had enough front-end damage that he knew that car was not going to be. The RPMs were probably at about 1,800, and all he was going to do was be in the way. So kudos to John Mullins, and I hate to see him go because we always love watching him race.
The battles are still picking up elsewhere throughout the track. We're currently watching Brian Johnson, who was in the midst of a little bit of a scrap with Brian Littleton just a minute ago. Another lap car. Littleton, in turn, is trying to hang on against Travis Manning in the battle for 10th place. You really have almost 2 different laps here, battles that you're trying to keep an eye on. You got the battle for the race lead, which is still about half a second and continuing to grow. And Apart from that, nobody else on the lead lap is really too close to each other. Well, as I say that, look up to Greg Wyszynski and Brian Johnson. The battle for 5th and 4th place. Start to pick on up, but it looks like Brian Johnson, well, he's going to have the speed.
Yeah, he's got to pass him on that high side. I think Greg Wyszynski is going to surrender it to him. That's the safest bet. You don't want to be on that low side and battling a car on the high side, because if they catch the wall, most definitely 9 times out of 10, they're going to bounce off that wall right into you, and it takes you out. And right now, Greg Wyszynski is in the top 5 solid. He does not need to be taken out.
Yeah, sometimes you got to really choose your battles. I mean, this is definitely that racetrack where you got to choose your battles. As we watch Greg Wyszynski, and look at that, Travis Manning coming up on him, going to try to unlap himself. It's going to take a while, though. I mean, he's got a ways to go here, as Greg Wyszynski is 8.2 behind the leader.
Well, am I looking at it correctly? Is Travis Manning still rolling on those same tires that he started the race with?
I would doubt it. I definitely think he's at least made at least 1 pit stop tonight. He's actually made 3 total pit stops, but I know that 2 of those are under that last caution. So I can tell you right now that Travis Manning is definitely not on his original set of the tires. That's why he is so quick at the moment. And I don't think he's trying to get himself back onto the lead lap. He's just trying to catch up to Josh Schaffner. He can remain in front of Schaffner by the time they get around to the stage 2 caution. That is when he'll be able to be in that lucky dog seat, and he'll get that free pass up onto the lead lap. Now, he's 7 seconds away at the moment from Schaffner, but that gap is slowly decreasing.
Well, I'll tell you one race that's really getting very interesting is the battle between 2nd and 3rd. Wayne Grossi underneath Justin Levine. And he's going to take away 2nd.
Oof. That is a solid move for Wayne Grossi. He started this race out in 8th position, and he's worked himself up to 2nd place. And he's not doing it the easy way. I mean, he is going around these guys, and that's not a very easy thing to do here. So kudos go out to Wayne Grossi in that submission.
I think he even has a chance to maybe even take the lead here. He is quickly catching Chad Sullivan.
Sullivan now right in front of him by just a 10th and a half. The gap is definitely closing. You got 2 drivers that are both running clean, but one of them just a little bit quicker than the other. And, well, it's pretty easy to tell which one of these drivers is the quicker one. Wayne Grossi going to look up high. Sullivan goes up to try to cover the run, and then he's going to have to cover back down low. That means Wayne Grossi doesn't get a good run, and Chad Sullivan gives it up, pulls down to the left, and lets Wayne Grossi have it.
Yeah, sometimes it's like Brian said earlier, it's sometimes you got to pick your battles. And at this point, Chad Sullivan's looking at the long run. He's sitting here thinking to himself, Wayne Grossi's going to try to stay up here. He's going to use up his tires. And when he uses up his tires, he'll get his position back. So all he has to do is sit back here in the catbird seat and watch and see how Wayne Grossi does.
100%. I totally agree. I mean, I feel like, Wayne, he's definitely very fast, but is he burning those tires up? Oh, Chad Sullivan into the outside wall in 3 and 4.
Well, that wall grabbed him and held him in there. I mean, he's got some significant, right-hand side damage there. So I don't know how that's going to affect his handling.
Yeah, that'll be bad news for Chad Sullivan for sure. That's some right front damage that he's going to be struggling with. Doesn't look like he's got anything on the rear, so I think he might have just been able to get away with that. He hasn't lost too much time, only a couple of tenths up to Wayne Grossi, but Grossi was already looking to pull away. He really has to worry about Justin Levine, who is now starting to slowly close in the gap.
Looks like Justin Levine's got a little attention behind him, too. You got the 61's going to go to the high side, and I think Justin's going to go ahead and pick his battle and say, you can have it.
Yeah, I believe that's Josh Schaffner. I mean, he's shown a lot of speed here tonight, and he's doing very well. I mean, he is a lap down, but he does lead the lap down cars. So he is in the lucky dog position.
Well, yeah, absolutely. He's in a good position because all he really has to do is pass 2 more cars, and he's back on the lead lap.
100%. I mean, it's really working out for him, don't you think, Nolan?
I'd certainly say so. He's just got to stay where he is, and any other caution, he's going to get himself back on the lead lap with that free pass anyway. I was talking about it. He's just really has to worry about Travis Manning, who's also trying to charge him from behind to see if your former pole sitter can maybe put himself back up into race winning contention tonight. But the run that Manning has had has kind of stalled out lately. It's still just under 6 seconds, but that's about, half a second that Manning has closed in, like the last 5 laps. It's going down minimally. He's not going to catch off at this rate before stage 2. His caution waves. Some who don't get one before that.
100%. I think we're probably going to see a lot of green flag pit stops here shortly too, to try to make it so that you can make it to the end of this thing. Whether we're going to see tires or not, that's going to be the question. But Schaffner in way better position than Travis Manning. I mean, Travis Manning is so far back compared to him right now.
Well, Brian, I do believe that we're going to see tires. It would be foolish for you not on this pit stop especially to not take tires.
I feel like you should save it just because you might have a green white checkered or something.
Well, what do we have? 5 sets, 4 plus the set we started with?
That's correct. 4 plus the one you start with.
So they used 1 up already. Okay, that was on stage 1. The end of stage 2, if they use up their second pair, they're going to have 2, 3 sets of tires left, and you're only going to have to pit again probably 1 or 2 times. So you're definitely going to have the opportunity to have an extra set if you have a green-white checker.
You forget here, Al, though, there were a couple of guys under that stage 1 caution that took tires on that one as well after having took tires just 10 laps prior. So some of these guys already only have 3 sets left on them. So that's going to put a lot of these guys at an even greater risk. And it does bring up the question, how do you ration out those 3 sets over 100 laps? I think the obvious solution would be take one about every 35 laps. You're going to be good to go. But if you got guys who can take tires even sooner than that, you're going to be in trouble near the end, as Brian was pointed out earlier.
Yeah, that's exactly what I meant.
You're definitely not going to want to ration them out in even numbers here. I think I would probably, if I was in this race, I'd want at least less than 15 laps on my last set of tires because that's when the most rubber's still on the tire.
Well, definitely Wayne Grossi looking very good right now to lead 2.3 seconds on Chad Sullivan. Chad Sullivan in kind of a little bit of trouble here as Justin Levine right up on him.
Justin Levine still trying to maybe pressure that number 21 into a mistake, but Schaffner, of course, that 1-car lap down, the 1-car buffer between them, and Sullivan at least has got the comfort of knowing that if Levine wants to get to him, he's going to have to get past Schaffner first, unless Schaffner breezes past Sullivan first, in which case Sullivan could be in for a world of hurt with no buffer between himself and the number 19 car just behind. And the gap is closing, it's worth noting, between Schaffner and Sullivan up in front. Cars coming down to pit road. Roy Hyde making one of the first drivers to come on down to pit road. I know Corey Cook is also in the lane at the moment. So green flag pit stops for stage 2 underway with just under 100 laps to go.
Yeah, here we go again with another strategy call. I mean, this is going to be very interesting to see how this turns out. We saw Mullins, how good he was. I mean, could we see someone else maybe try to pull the same thing?
Well, I do believe that those guys are 2 laps down, so it'd be kind of hard to do anything. But I was just admiring the line that Schaffner is running around this track. You see, most drivers get up more towards the wall, these corners, and Schaffner has somehow been able to, it looks like Levine's going to get past him, but he's somehow able to ride center of these turns. See how he doesn't, he's going to come in. It's like Schaffner's coming in.
Levine goes through. That allows no buffer between himself and Chad Sullivan. And Schaffner, sure enough, is going to be making that call to come down to pit road. And he's taking the wise strategy here. He's entering pit road the way you need to. He's seen a lot of guys, they've tried to enter pit road tight and slow off of, turn 3. But the problem with that, guys, is the fact that you have to get on the binder so much more that you end up locking up that left front. And that's what's because a lot of these guys swung out wide. Schaffner did it right there. He used the banking to help slow himself down because he knew he didn't have anybody in behind. Then right at 3 and 4, used that banking to give him a bit of a launch as he came down pit road. Got a wider arc in, and that set him up nicely for pit entry.
We also have the number 7, Wayne Grossi. He relinquishes the lead to Chad Sullivan, and he kind of follows the same lead as Schaffner. He comes in, and let's see if he gets 4 tires here.
Yeah, very curious to see if he gets 4 tires here. And what a call. I mean, it definitely takes a lot of courage to kind of lead that charge down pit road. I know we saw Roy Hyde go down, but, I mean, when you see the leaders go down, that kind of, initiates everyone to start to go down here. So I suspect a lot of these other guys are going to start maybe making that transition also.
Kenny Powell also down pit road at the moment, and looking at the pit stop time so far, from all the drivers that have come down pit road, I have seen nobody that has spent longer than or nobody that has spent shorter than 10 seconds. The only driver that has been in there for long has been Brian Littleton, 10.8 seconds. And that's an interesting one. That tells me that's too long for a fuel stop. He probably took right sides only, which is an even riskier call, I would argue.
Oh,
He
yeah,
might-
I definitely
He might
would.
have had damage, too. I mean, we don't know. He might have had damage he just wanted to fix.
I mean,
That's a
that's
good
some
point.
crazy thoughts, though, to maybe only take 2 sets of tire. I mean, your right sides or left side. I mean, that is insane to think about. I mean, especially at a track like Darlington where, I think that would rob the whole setup of its speed. I mean, every track I've ever seen, the only track that I've ever seen 2 tires work at is probably Daytona, Talladega, maybe Michigan and Auto Club.
I agree. This is not a truck you take 2 tires at. If you take 2 tires here, you might as well really get comfortable with that wall because you're going to meet it a lot.
Gentlemen, if I may, I'd like to correct a mistake that I made. I mentioned that Brian Littleton had a 10.8-second pit stop. Well, I've just realized that was under our latest caution for stage 1. So that explains that. It was fixing damage. So I'm going to correct myself on that right now. He has yet to come in and is among those drivers. So we have 3 on the lead lap, and all 3 have yet to stop.
Very interesting. Let's see what they do. It looks like Chad Sullivan and Justin Levine are within not even a half a second of each other, while Brian Johnson in third right now. He's almost 13 seconds behind Justin Levine, sitting in third.
This is going to be a very interesting stage finish here. I mean, Levine has been very fast the whole time. I mean, he hasn't been quite as consistent as he needs to be. But, I mean, I think he's doing a good job. I mean, I think he's going to make this very interesting, this stage.
Well, if I was first through third, any of the top 3 drivers right now, what my mindset would be is try to run this out as long as I can before I run out of fuel and then pit, because I'm going to get tires. And that way, when this next stage starts up, I'll be on, maybe 7, 8, 9, 10 lap tires. But I've got to preserve another set of tires here. So I'm probably they've got enough of a gap here that they can just comfortably run out there and use up these tires that they got on.
Yeah, for sure. But Justin Levine, I think he's got a little bit more of a limitation than Chad Sullivan does. He last pitted on lap 49. That means he has that much less fuel than Chad does. So he is kind of going to be forced to pit at some point here.
Travis Manning is in pit road at the moment, getting his service done. So Manning's run to try to get his lap back will effectively be neutralized. Look at Kenny Powell ducking underneath Chad Sullivan. That allows Levine to close right on it. And he's going to try to capitalize on this one and make a run to the inside, but just could not get there in time. Sullivan shuts the door. We are, by the way, past halfway now. We're running lap 95. We've got 88 laps to go, this time by the line. And, well, you saw Levine almost get the run, but almost immediately he got dragged right back.
Well, what you seen Kenny Powell do is he needed to unlap him. He was 2 laps down, so now he's just 1 lap down right now. So that's why he went past that leader so aggressively. He needed to get at least in a contention to be in a position to possibly get a lucky dog.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, even if he doesn't get the lucky dog, he could at least maybe stay out, hope for a caution during that final stage. Maybe could help him out for sure. I mean, everybody probably is going to pit on this next caution. So even if he doesn't get the lucky dog, I think he might be able to get that, at least back on the lead lap to hope and pray for a caution.
Well, boys, interesting enough, I am very curiously and patiently waiting to see the lead that Wayne Grossi is going to have here. And I guess it's going to decide on if these guys take tires when they pit or fuel only. But the lead that he's going to have off of Chad Sullivan, Justin Levine, and Brian Johnson, if he ends up with a lead. If they take fuel only, they may come out together. I do believe we're watching Wayne Grossi in that early pit stop. That was a very wise choice for him. As he's coming up right now, he's going to get his lap back. I mean, he's just 1 lap down, but he has caught the leaders right now, and he is just moments away from getting his lap back.
Just got to make sure it gets done cleanly. Too many times I've seen drivers trying to get their laps back and have taken out the leaders in the process. Gets by Levine safe and sound. And it looks like Chad Sullivan will not be putting up too much of a fight either. So Wayne Grossi will find himself back on the lead lap, putting the total to 4. Grossi kind of squeezing Sullivan up to the wall a little bit, I thought there. And now
Look
we're
at
coming
that,
up
the
to
44. up there on the high side, hitting the wall a little bit there.
Yeah,
Trying to
that's
get
a
out of the
product.
way.
Yeah, trying to get out of the way. Exactly.
I'm surprised that Levine has been able to stick so close with Chad Sullivan, in all honesty, throughout all of this. I mean, there's a 9-lap tire difference separated these two drivers, and the fact that Levine's been able to stay so close is absolutely phenomenal. And I tell you what, if you're liking what you're seeing out here at the moment, then I would definitely say consider, giving the YouTube channel a good old like and subscribe on the video. Follow us on Twitch and, of course, on Facebook, wherever you happen to be watching us from. And we'll be happy to race more with you guys here on a Thursday night. It's been a great run so far, and I can't wait to see what these last 83 laps are going to hold for us.
Well, with that in mind, Nolan and Brian, why don't we go ahead and give a big shout out to our sponsor, ButtKicker, and give them a big thank you. I absolutely love my ButtKicker, and anybody that's got one, I'm sure they agree with me. You can't race on iRacing without it. So let's go ahead and run a commercial for them and give them a big thank you.
ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. Get yours today at TheButtKicker.com and be sure to use our 20% discount promo code ISCA20.
Well, during that commercial break, Justin Levine made the call out to come down pit road. That leaves Chad Sullivan all by his lonesome up there in the front, and he is staying on out there. We've got about 12 laps to go in stage number 2. It appears as though Al and Brian have departed for the time being, so I am going to entertain you lot by myself, it would seem, just for these next couple of moments here. So Chad Sullivan's still leading and looking out of the throttle a little bit more, trying to see if he can maybe save a little bit of fuel, but we've already seen earlier, it does not work trying to save fuel. You just don't have the space to make it. I know Brian Littleton has come down pit road for his pit stop and is still in pit road or just leaving pit road. So this will be interesting to see how these next few laps are going to play on out. We're coming to 80 laps to go this time by, and with 80 laps to go, that of course means we're now going to be entering the final leg of the race at about 11 laps time. Stage 1 coming to a close soon. Sullivan way overshoots the pit entry. Has to slow up big time, but managed to get in safe and sound. But there's a white line out there where you have to be over that line, or iRacing flags for an unsafe pit entry. He was well over that line, so Sullivan could find himself with a really bad penalty here that could cost him a Stage 2 victory.
Yeah, that was a big mistake for Mr. Sullivan there. Let's see how he overcomes that.
Yeah, especially if it's a hold. If he has to sit there for 40 seconds or something like that, that is going to kill his race. I mean, he could find himself multiple laps down because of something like this. Oh, he actually doesn't get a penalty apparently to hold.
Good.
He might have to do a drive-through though. Hopefully he doesn't, but it could very well be a black flag that you have to come back in and serve.
It looks like he's going to be safe and sound. It was a 6.2 second stop, which tells me fuel only for the number 1 car. And what the good news is as well for a lot of guys out there in the field is because of Sullivan's big mistake there, Al, that's put, I believe, up to the 10th place now on the lead lap again.
Well, that short of a time frame on pit road means to tell me he probably took about 3 gallons of fuel, just enough to make it to the end of the stage.
Well, that makes a lot of sense there. Yeah, I'm showing about everybody 7th on up is on the lead lap right now. That's going to be very good for them. I mean, I almost wish all these other guys would get their laps back here because, I mean, that definitely puts a hamper on their nights for sure. And hopefully, the only thing I could see about getting that lap back is maybe staying out. I just don't know what else you could do there.
Yeah, I might roll the dice. I mean, I might have pitted earlier and went down a lap and then stayed out in the beginning of the next stage and got my lap back.
That's about all you can do.
Brian Johnson, who was the race leader up until now, is now down to the pit road. He's among the last of the drivers that needs to come down for stage number 2 to make it, and this is now under 10 laps to go in stage number 2. So the G&G Racing number 4 Chevrolet going to give up the lead to, once again, Wayne Grossi. One of those drivers that you're mentioning, Brian, made that bold call to start the call to bring drivers down, but because it took tires on that stop, he was able to get a much better run on fresh rubber in clean air. That sees him up in the lead by, well, let's just say it's a distance, 13.8 seconds at the moment.
Yeah, and I'll be honest. I mean, he's one of the fastest drivers out there on the racetrack. I mean, I think long-term average lap time. And he's not the fastest in hot lapping. I do believe that honor goes to Justin Levine. He hit a 28.765, while Wayne Grossi, about the third fastest out there, 28.961. But, I mean, I think average lap time, though, that's what's really important at this racetrack.
Well, we were all patiently waiting to see how much of a time gap Wayne Grossi would put between first and second, and he has put about a third of the track distance between him and second place, almost 14 seconds.
It's quite the distance, and I mean, 14 seconds doesn't sound that long to an average viewer. Just to kind of put that into perspective, just how long that is. Wayne Grossi at the moment off of turn 4. The next closest driver is Wachinski, just exited turn 2. They are pretty much exactly half a lap apart. Wayne Grossi has just played the strategy to a T at the moment. 5 to go in stage 2.
And I'm very curious on, how that's going to affect him in, the championship hunt here. Where is he exactly in the playoffs here?
I don't believe he's actually
not playoffs,
in.
I mean, I'm sorry, just championship standings.
Yeah, he's not in the main Cup Series playoffs, unfortunately, but for the main Cup Series standings, he's currently sitting, if I read this right, that's about 7th place down there. Unfortunately, though, it's over 40 points up to McMeekin, so Grossi not in any championship fights at the moment, except with Kyle Labrie. He is 3.5 points away from him, but of course, Kyle Labrie, let's say, has not had the best of races, so it would be Grossi to come out on top in that battle.
Well, I mean, that just means that he's out here for honor. He just wants to win this race. I mean, this is a big one. I mean, Darlington, not a lot of drivers can conquer this thing.
They call it the track too tough to tame for a reason, and, well, it's exactly like you just said. It's a very difficult track to conquer, and it's always one of those bigger names that every driver wants to have on their resume.
Hey, Nolan, do I see Justin Levine? Did he just come on pit road?
I think that's Kyle Labrie, actually. I don't see Levine anywhere on pit road. That is Kyle Labrie, who is out of fuel in the number 9 machine, coasting down pit road. It's unfortunate for him. Levine is currently running 3rd place at the moment, so he doesn't have anything to worry about. But bad news for Labrie, who is losing a handful of time. That's going to hurt him even more in that battle for his points position for P7.
I really don't even think he's going to make it to his pit box. I mean, he is literally rolling at like 15 miles an hour.
7 even. That's what I'm getting, 7 miles an hour. He's not going to make it.
No, he's going to have to tow. And if anybody doesn't know anything about the iRacing network here, if you tow, no matter where you're out on the track, it's roughly about almost 2 minutes to get your car towed in.
So bad news for Kyle Labrie. Let's see who might just be able to make it there. He's coasting through Kenny Powell's pit stop right now, and I can practically see his stall up there. This is hurting to watch, but for Wayne Grossi coming around turn 2 at the moment on the final lap for stage number 2. He has been on fire today, and he is going to be looking to see if he can set the stage back up and running. We're going to have to wait for Kenny Powell, the last car in the lead lap, to come across the line before we can actually throw the caution for stage 2. But for the time being, Wayne Grossi out of turn number 4 and your stage 2 winner.
I got to say, Kenny Powell, though, I mean, 6th place right now. I mean, he looked like he really is going to lock this championship up. I mean, that is such a good run. I mean, for him to be out here taking it easy, wow.
All you got to do is stay clean. That's the name of the game here. Stay clean and off that wall. I mean, let everybody else make the mistakes. And if this is played out to be kind of like a pit stop strategy game.
100%. I mean, some guys are out here playing checkers. Some guys are playing chess.
There's a few playing dominoes.
And there goes the yellow flag.
So with stage 2 now under our belts, Let's take a quick step away once again, and we'll be back soon with more from the Darlington Raceway on the season finale of the 2021 Season 3 of the iRacing Stock Car Association's ButtKicker Cup Series.
ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. Get yours today at TheButtKicker.com and be sure to use our 20% discount promo code ISCA20.
Back live with more here from the ISCA Stock Car Association ButtKicker 250. And dramas under the caution flag. Josh Schaffner got turned by Corey Cook and collected Kenny Powell as well under the caution flag. And what we're hearing was Corey Cook was a little bit distracted, taking a look at some of the telemetry on his screen. And, well, that sends Josh Schaffner around. That is sorely bad news for the 50 machine, who's got major damage because of it. We'll have to get another look at it if we can. It's on lap 117, and Schaffner is not happy about it, and I don't blame him.
Well, I don't imagine that Kenny Powell at 24 machines any happier about that either. The only good thing, the good news for him, is there have been 3 drivers that have left this race already. So he is securely locking himself up in the championship.
Oh, my word. That was egregious.
And Josh Schaffner with a very egregious mistake in his number 50 machine, as well, you just saw it yourself there, I'm imagining, Brian. It's was not a pleasant ride, shall we say. It's one of those situations you never want to find yourself in. So I believe on lap 116 or so, Schaffner was the innocent victim, and Corey Cook's the one that just ran him over. And that's the first real crash between 2 cars that we've seen all day long. That actually probably would have brought out a caution, Al. And I honestly don't have any words for how you could possibly defend this any which way. We're taking a look at the replay now.
Let's see how it plans out here. It looks like he's... Oh, he purposely... It looks like he purposely came up and punted him. He purposely came up there and punted him, it looks like.
Well,
Yeah, under caution.
I don't think it was that, because Corey was saying that he was all sorts of distracted, taking a look at some of the telemetry that was up on his screen and kind of doing some strategy calls, and he was just distracted. And that's an awkward one, though. I can imagine that Corey Cook might have an incident report or two docked onto his standings after that incident.
Oh, yeah, you watch how Corey Cook, he didn't do that intentional, most definitely there, and he's trying to come down on the infield there so he doesn't get in there. How did Kenny Powell get involved in that?
Yeah,
he just couldn't check up in time. He was right behind him.
I just feel like even if it isn't, intentional, I think it still is negligent, really.
And unfortunately, it's hard to argue with that one. Lights are out on the pace car, but the lights are on over the Darlington Raceway. We get set to go racing into the evening, currently 7:40 p.m. in sim time, and you start to see the shadows being cast by the overhead lights, keeping this track lit as the sun sets below the horizon.
Looks like Wayne Grassi is going to bring this field around to the green. And then on his outside will be Greg Wachinski. In second row will be Justin Levine. And on the outside of second row is Brian Johnson. I mean, those are only 4 drivers presently that are on the lead lap.
And a lot of guys are still trying to catch up as well further down the order, so hopefully they'll be able to get themselves somewhat stacked up before this thing goes back green. Pace car pulls down the pit road, getting set to go for the final and longest stage. 63 laps to go for stage number 3 here for the ButtKicker 250 in the ISCA ButtKicker Cup Series. Olsen pulls off early, just to let the field through to make sure they don't get a penalty for passing before the line. Kenny Powell's in the wall. Big wheel spin for the 24 sends him flying into the outside wall, and Craig Johnson has to scramble.
Well, they were 3 wide there, 3 wide. I was worried for a minute there, and luckily they backed it out, and it ended up pretty good.
Yeah, usually you see 3 wide at this racetrack. It is never good. Somehow they made it through that. What a move, what a act of wreck avoidance. I mean, to know that, hey, I got to back out of this. I mean, that just shows the amount of, good drivers we have in this league here.
The reason why Kenny Powell hit the wall, the wheel spin. I mentioned at the top of the broadcast that with this high horsepower load downforce package, the wheel spin is bad. Especially out of the old service that's, as bumpy as the one at Darlington. It's so easy for the car to lift off the ground. And we saw a perfect example of why you need to really watch for that there. Kenny Powell find it out at the hard way. Craig Johnson really playing spoiler here to both Levine, who's in third place, trying to chase down second place runner at the moment of Greg Wyszynski, along with Kenny Powell, who's just trying to survive this race at this point.
Yeah, I feel like Justin Levine was probably getting a little upset with Kenny Powell a little bit there, trying to get his way around. But when you're a lap car here, I mean, it is so dangerous. I mean, very anxiety-inducing, I'd say, considering, you want to let this guy go, but you want to do it safely. We got some contact with the inside wall.
It's Littleton. Brian Littleton of the 28 car just went hard to the inside wall by himself. But no caution.
All you got to do is catch that. This is a perfect example of the outside wall. No, he kind of just missed it. He didn't even hit the wall. When he came out of that corner, he lost control.
Yeah, back end just came around on him. Unfortunate for Brian Littleton. Took a ride on board, and you'll watch the wheel. You'll see the second he loses control of this thing. And he locked it up, tried to keep it out, but there was no saving it. Right there, back it comes around, and that's a huge hit into the inside barrier. Lucky that was not a caution. Unfortunately for Littleton, though, he is now out of the race.
Well, just like Brian mentioned to us earlier, the inside line there, that little apron, it kind of keeps the cautions away. I mean, if the driver falls down there, that's not on the racing line, and the caution won't come out.
Well, Wayne Grossi looking very strong here as he has a pretty good lead here, about 8/10 here on Greg Wyszynski. But, I mean, he has some guys behind that are trying to make their way back up there. I mean, we see Justin Levine. He's about 4 seconds from the lead right now. Can he make that time up?
When he told me we'd come into this race, and by the time we got around to the third stage, you only have 4 cars on the lead lap, I would say I wouldn't believe you, but that has honestly just shown how valuable the pit strategies can be. I mean, all of those cars that are lapped down, they're lapped down because the cars in front of them on the lead laps, they just had better pit strategies all day long. And I'm going to be honest, Al, I can't remember the last time we saw Wayne Grossi running up in the lead of one of these races with a serious shot at getting a win. When was the last time Grossi got a win? Can you recall? Because I certainly can.
I don't think he's had a win yet. I mean, he might have had one, but Wayne Grossi is a dark horse. You definitely do not want to count him out. Very talented driver, and I'm not shocked to see him up here, especially at a short track like this, because I've raced with him several times, and he is an animal on these short tracks.
Yeah, Wayne Grossi definitely is very strong here tonight. I mean, I feel like whatever they put in that Chevy, we need to check it after the race because I feel like something's going on there. He got lead in that race car.
Well, I think he might be sponsored or owned by the Hendricks.
Yeah, something's going on. It makes sense. I mean, it is a Chevy. As we see Josh Schaffner having some issues as Chad Sullivan getting around him.
And Josh Schaffner at the moment really falling back quite at the 3 and 4. He actually hit the wall. Just took a look at that now. That's what happened and why he's so slow. Schaffner just pushed too wide at 3 and 4. Got up into the wall. That allowed Manny to go through and take up the 5th position. Sullivan managed to scramble past, pick up 6th place. And Levine not able to put Schaffner one more position down through the front straight, but he did get him through 1 and 2.
I swear these guys are praying, absolutely praying to the racing gods to get a caution. Because, I mean, these guys are, especially like a guy like Manning or a guy like Chad Sullivan, that they want that caution so bad so they could probably stay out. Everyone else is going to pit for fuel. Try to do whatever you can to get back in this thing. Because, I mean, being a lap down, especially at this racetrack, I mean, especially where cautions are so few and far between. At a racetrack, you think it's like, this is a virtual pinball machine. Why are there no cautions? Because of that apron.
And I'm going to be honest, you mentioned that a lot of these people, were wanting to get a caution, particularly everybody that's, 1 or more laps down. I don't think they're going to get one. I mean, the trend so far, you've had a couple brushes with the wall, 1 or 2 people slide around and hit the inside wall, but there hasn't been anything that's been able to force a yellow flag. And at this point, I don't think we're going to get anything because we're so deep into the race. We've gone over 130 laps now, and the only caution we've had has been for stages.
You're right. I mean, I feel like the only caution we're ever going to get here is probably between the leaders and lap traffic. I suspect we might see something like that. If I was a betting man, I would think that maybe the leaders will come up on the lap car that maybe does not, maybe know as good about how to get out of the way. Could see something like that. What do you think, Al?
I'm not going to bet on it. I don't think we're going to have a caution. These guys all pretty much know what they're doing out here, and even though they're a lap down, I don't know if any of them will get rambunctious and try to stay on the lead lap and race with the leaders. That'd be the only way I could imagine that would happen. Now, there is a possibility in a turn, if you have a leader that's trying to pass you in a turn, that you just misjudge the distance between you and the outside wall, and you clip that wall and come down and take out the leader. That could possibly happen. I've seen it happen several times.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely agree. I definitely think that would be pretty much the only likely way for a caution to happen here.
I mean, look at this statistically at the moment. With all the cars they still got on the course, which I believe is about 13 exactly at the moment, it is pretty much, we're talking 3 times more likely for a caution to come from somebody that's a lap down rather than somebody out there on the lead lap. And a lot of the cars that are, laps down, they're actually battling closer than the guys up on the lead lap are, just because of how many of them there are.
Well, we just seen minutes ago here, guys, that Greg Wyszynski lost it a little bit there and has caught the rear end of his car on the wall. That gave Travis Manning an opportunity to get second place, and now he just needs to catch Wayne Grossi. That is about 2 seconds in front of him, and then he's got himself back on the lead lap.
Yeah, it seems like Greg Wyszynski's having a lot of issues here. Seems like he's hit the wall just again. And that's going to allow Chad Sullivan to get around him. So, smooth sailing up front now that Chad Sullivan's got clear. Justin Levine underneath Greg Wyszynski, and he gets clear.
Oh, you knocked the toe. He might have knocked the toe out in that car, and that steering is just all kinds of messed up for him there, so he can't control that car. Right now, what he's just going to do is he's going to hold on probably until he can regroup, pick a different line to kind of get, looks like he's going to go low here to try to stay away from that wall. Otherwise, he's going to continue to hit that wall.
And that pass that you had seen with Levine going up the inside of Wyszynski was for position. That was a swap for P's 2 and 3 out there on the track. So that puts Levine now up into second place at the second step on the podium, with Greg Wyszynski being bumped back down to third. It's another 10 seconds back to Brian Johnson. So Wyszynski doesn't have a lot to worry about now. He does have a little bit to worry about if he wants to reel in the 4 seconds up to Wayne Grossi, who has just continued to walk away with the lead since these restarts.
I mean, that just really shows the value of clean air here. When these guys are right behind each other, that's why I was really impressed with Levine earlier, because, I mean, he was right behind Chad Sullivan and still was staying right with them, even on older tires. But, I mean, dirty air here, this track is so fast that aero does mean quite a bit.
Yeah, it'll take some air out that rear end, and we know what happens when you don't have enough downforce on that rear end.
I mean, you already don't have downforce, considering this is a low downforce package. I mean, don't take away something that I don't got.
Yeah, you'll definitely get them loose. But it looks like Travis Manning is making some gains on Wayne Grossi here. Not huge gains, but he is making some. Ryan, what do you think is going to be the pit strategy here? When do we think we're going to start seeing these drivers come down pit road?
That's a very good question. I would probably say about 150. That's where I would go.
Nolan, what's your thoughts on that?
If you can split it halfway, I would say anywhere between now and the next 10, 15 laps or so would be a decent time to come on into pit road. At that point, not really going to be gaining a whole lot of extra time by staying out there on the track, especially when you know you can come on in and get fresh tires at any point. I would honestly come in right around halfway through stage 3 if you can help it, which would be about another 10 laps, give or take.
Well, we know John Mullen showed us earlier in this race that it was pitting early is a smart strategy. So I'm going to be in agreement. I don't think I'd cut it in half, but I do think, knowing that I can do about 40, 45 laps on my tires, I think I'm going to come in right about 146, 147 probably.
Or you could be like Brian Johnson and come in now. Brian Johnson in pit road for what could be his final pit stop on the day, taking 4 tires. Well, you mentioned, being able to run into your tires for about, 46 laps still was it now? Well, Brian's got 42 laps to go, so you and him might be on the same wavelength. He just decided to come down a little bit sooner.
Yeah, that's the smartest move. I mean, John showed us that earlier. Mr. Mullins did when he came on pit road earlier than everybody else and got 4 tires. And what that does is that's going to give a speed advantage. The time differences between Brian Johnson and the leaders are probably going to be significant. When I say significant, he's probably going to be a second faster. Now, it's only going to take him about 30 laps if he's down a lap to get his lap back, because he's going to be able to pass these guys. In the meantime, he's going to be using his tires.
Oh, Chad Sullivan into the outside walls. Justin Levine able to clear him, even though that is not for position. And you mentioned, about, I do believe, I'm sorry about that. My brain stopped working there for a second. You mentioned Brian Johnson. I mean, he's 2 laps down right now. So even if he's able to get 1 lap back, he's still going to be kind of in a hole here.
I wonder how he got 2 laps down. I mean, his pit stop looked flawless. I mean, he should have only lost a lap. But I guess the way the field is spread out like this, there was such a gap between him and Wayne Grossi. I mean, he was literally about 14 seconds behind him. So, but it does look like he is making gains here. And making gains is exactly what Justin Levine is doing on Wayne Grossi. He went from 3.5 seconds down to cut it right in half to about 1 second and 1.5 seconds. He's catching the leader.
Paul Olson is in pit road, 8 laps down for the number 43 machine for his final pit stop. So more and more drivers elected to come in right around this time frame to come on in for that final set of stops. We're just under 40 laps remaining now. So now we were kind of thinking this would be about the best time to come down pit road, get that fresh set of rubber on. I see Craig Johnson making the moves to come down to pit road. Meanwhile, Levine has caught up to Wayne Grossi, a quarter second separating your top 2, guys. This is about to get feisty.
100%. Now, I feel like this should be a call for Wayne to go down pit road. Short pit, Justin Levine. I mean, you've seen how fast he is. You see he's right there behind you. Now's the time. Go down.
Yeah, well, the problem with that is if he does that, he's going to go down 2 laps. But it does look like he's listening. He's going to let that go, and he may be coming down pit road.
He keeps that one out there, though. He wants to stretch this a little bit longer. Now, we've seen Wayne Grossi's pit strategies honestly play out almost perfectly so far all throughout the night. So I would not be surprised if he was going to pull another strategy out of his hat here to see if he can maybe get back past Justin Levine. But if the second Justin Levine comes down before Grossi does, though, I'm going to be honest, it's all over at that point. The undercut is just so powerful at a track like this where the track just chews through your tires. You really need to take every advantage of it that you possibly can.
He needs to not go out as far as he can, because this is going to take him, if he goes a lap down, it's going to take him roughly about 30, 31 laps to get back on a lead lap just to power drive himself through the field. So if it was me, I would be coming down pit road really soon.
Oh, yeah, like literally next lap. I mean, I would definitely be coming down right now just because, like you said, Nolan, as soon as Justin pits, he loses the opportunity to win this race.
Still stays out, though. That's a questionable call if you ask me. I know Craig Johnson just left pit road. So that could have also just been a case of, some guys wanted to come on down early, because there hasn't been anybody the last couple of laps that have come down pit road by themselves willingly. I honestly think this might just be a case of having to maybe wait this one out and see how this will play out. But Grossi's only losing more time up to Levine. The gap 1.2 seconds now. I'm a bit surprised that 7 car is still staying out there like he is.
Yeah, 100%.
They're looking at a lot of different factors here. Right now, first, second, and third, that's Justin Levine, Wayne Grossi, and Greg Wyszynski. They're in contention of battling each other. Sitting out in the dark horse seat is a 22 of Travis Manning. He is 28 seconds behind third place. So if these guys could pit cleanly, which I highly doubt we're going to see somebody be foolish enough to come down pit road and take fuel only to the end of the stage to try to speed it up. Because if you're taking a full tank of fuel, you might as well get 4 tires. But I think they can pit now and still be up there in first, second, and third and not lose a lap.
Look at that, Greg Wyszynski down pit road.
So is Drumhiller and Labrie So 3 more cars coming down to the lane. Now, one other thing that I'm starting to notice here, I don't remember how fast all of Wayne Grossi's pit stops have been, but I'm noticing on that last one, he did take 4 tires, and that was his 4th pit stop. These drivers have 4 extra sets of tires plus the one they started on. You wonder if maybe he's out of tires, which would also explain why he hasn't come down for that undercut yet. I'd be surprised if he was, but I've seen stranger things.
Yeah, that definitely is a scary thing there. I mean, that, you could be one of the fastest guys out here, and he definitely has been. But, you could lose it all just by, oh, I'll take tires here and not save a set.
Yeah, you can't drive on Jello. I mean, this would be like going to the beach and taking this race car and trying to drive it on the beach on some really soft sand. You're not going to go anywhere.
Greg Wachinski able to stay only 1 lap down right now, so he's out there fresh in that 5 car.
Yeah, Greg Wachinski has put himself in a position of a great possibility. I mean, if this thing goes green all the way, this could be a Brian Johnson, Greg Wachinski 1-2. If the undercut works.
Oh, hang on. Kyle Labrie hard to the inside wall, back straightaway and smoking for the 9 car. Sorry to cut you off, Al, but Labrie lost it by himself, trying to get a run on Josh Schaffner. We just about had that caution that a lot of these guys are wanting.
Well, that definitely goes to show you. I mean, a caution is few and far between here. I mean, if that doesn't bring out a caution, I don't know what will.
You just saw the replay of the 9 car pancaking the inside wall with the left side, and that sends his car up in smoke. So Labrie, Al, he's effectively out of the race for the night.
Well, what you see in there is professionalism. He could have easily came back up on the track and caused a caution, but he didn't want to take his competitors and put them at risk for any kind of more possibilities that they could wreck. So he kept it down in the apron there to prevent the caution. Very, very professional.
Well, I'll tell you this, guys, just an interesting development here. Justin Levine down pit road. Of course, we saw Wayne Grossi also go down pit road. He did shortcut him by 1 lap.
They're in at the same time, potentially. Wayne Grossi, I know you just said he just came out of pit road, so can Grossi potentially leapfrog Levine? I'm watching Grossi coming around 3 and 4 now. Where is Levine? Just leaving his box and out of pit road. This could be tight here coming out of turn number 2 onto the front straightaway, but I think Grossi's got too much time to make up. Grossi at the moment is flying through 1 and 2 on the fresh rubber, trying to see if he can maybe reel up the time to Justin Levine, but Levine is out with more than enough space out in front. It's the overcut that works for the 19.
Wow.
What was his pit time?
Their pit stop times in the box were the same, but Levine 2 seconds quicker on pit road, which tells you that Wayne Grossi was a bit too slow on the entry.
Well, that'll definitely do it, for sure. I mean, you got to be... This is such a fine line to walk, at this racetrack with that pit lane. I mean, you really have to be in between chaos and perfect.
And all this has put Greg Wachinski up in the lead of this race. Another driver that I didn't think would be contending for a win tonight after he qualified all the way down to the 11th place, but he's only got 6 laps on his tires. It's 2.5 seconds back to Brian Johnson, who's not going to be able to catch him. He's 10 laps older. The only guy he's got to worry about is Levine, who's only 2.9 seconds back, but the tires are only 4 laps apart, so with 26 laps to go, this is honestly, at this point, Wachinski's race to lose.
Well, to be honest with you, Levine actually passed Brian Johnson just now.
Exactly, and Brian got really squirrely that time. Yeah, I think we're going to see a battle for the lead here. It's kind of gamed out. Now there's about 3 seconds, but what Greg Wachinski needs to do is just patiently run his line and not worry about how fast Justin's catching. Because if Justin doesn't run his line and gets aggressive pushing that car, they're going to close up the advantage that Justin Levine's had with those fresher tires. He's going to eat them up trying to get to him.
I'm going to put on my analyst glasses here, and I'll be able to tell you exactly where that gap is being closed in. It's on corner exit. Greg Wachinski enters tighter and faster on the entries of turns 1 and 3, which allows it to pull ahead a little bit more on the entry But look at how fast Levine closes in on the exit because he takes a much wider line of the entry, carries a lot of momentum, and then diamonds off that corner on the exit, which is why he's been able to close the gap from 3 seconds to 1.3 in just 2 laps.
100%. Look at Wayne Grossi, though. Last time by was able to hit a little bit faster, but looks like actually just now, Justin Levine ekes it out. So looks like Justin Levine is very fast. I mean, that 19 is hooked up. Would not be surprised to see him come up there and challenge Greg. I mean, he is quickly approaching him.
Gap now under a second to the battle for the race lead. This could be big here between Chinsky and Levine. If Levine can potentially come out and get a win tonight, that would be everything that he would have wanted. He's had to work so hard for it, but he has the pace to potentially be able to maybe get this one done. He's running down to half a second.
And it's not very much a surprise, considering Justin Levine literally has the fastest lap time on the racetrack thus far tonight.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see much battling going on. I think Greg Wachinski realizes that Justin is faster, so he's not going to risk giving it up to him. What he's going to hope for is up in front of him there's 2 lap cars, and he's hoping that they'll battle with Justin Levine. As Justin goes to the inside here, I think he's going to get a clean pass here. He's hoping for these lap cars to battle him, and Justin cut that apron a little closer. That's going to give Greg an opportunity to get back down there.
Not good enough though off the exit. Levine's just that much more confident on the throttle. Hand it to Justin Levine, going to take that race lead, and he'll be able to start running away with it at the number 19 car. That is not the only battle on track, by the way. As that battle started to die off, let's focus our attention back to 8th and 9th. Kenny Powell, the driver in the catbird seat for the championship, is being put under pressure by Roy Hyde, and Hyde is looking hungry. He wants 8th place.
Yeah, Kenny Powell has nothing to race for. I mean, he could finish 16th and still win a championship. So he really doesn't need to press his luck. I mean, he's just out there just to have fun, turn a lap.
Yeah, one thing complicating things is definitely some lap traffic here, or not lap traffic, really just people that are further down than they are, I reckon. Actually, Josh Schaffner on the lead lap, which is surprising, but yeah, that definitely complicates things a little bit there whenever you're coming up on another car and you're trying to race someone else. I mean, a lot of anxiety I'd be feeling, a lot of stress, especially at a track this narrow.
Oh, Powell's in the wall. That's going to give an opportunity to Roy Hyde. If Hyde can get a better exit off of turn number 4, don't think he does. He's really being conservative here, I think Roy is. Just trying to find a way to get past Powell cleanly. But may power to Roy, but he doesn't have that much time. At the moment, you got just about 18 laps or so to get this move done. You need to make that spot up as quick as you can at this point, but he gets checked up even further as Powell scrapes the wall again.
Well, if you were Roy Hyde, seeing Kenny Powell hit that wall every time in front of you, would you try to go to the inside?
Yeah, fair point. Fair point.
That is an excellent point. I mean, just like you mentioned before, Al, I mean, as soon as that guy hits the wall and you're trying to go below him, you're going right with him. Like, we're both going on a trip.
It's called synchronized crashing.
Oh, he might get him here, though. Roy Hyde looking to the inside line. Will he dive this one to the inside of 3? He's going to. Powell's not going to make this easy. He's going to fight this one all the way around. Right in front, he saw Craig Johnson. Center shower sparks as he hit the wall, and they almost made contact again off of turn 4.
What a good race.
The outside move, but I think Hyde will get him here in 1. There he goes.
What a good pass. I mean, both of those guys very respectful of one another. Love to see that.
Yeah, you've got the professionalism out here. These guys will show it to you all day long. I mean, sometimes.
Hello.
Whoa,
The 83 gets in the way of Roy Hyde, allows Kenny Powell to take that spot back.
Well, that definitely put a little hiccup on there, and that's not going to make him happy. He's like,
That's a G&G teammate, too, Al.
Yeah, there might be some race chatter between the two of those drivers saying, hey, I need some help here. Roy Hyde is getting me. I don't know. That kind of looked like there was a little bit of blocking going on there. I'm not going to say it was, but it looked like it.
I don't think that's going to stop Roy Hyde, though, as he catches right back up to Kenny Powell.
Yeah, he said, where's your teammates now? I'm right back at you.
I gotta be honest, from the looks of things, we could say his team may block it all the way we want, but I also think it might have just been a coincidence thing. I think Johnson was just trying to go down to let them out of the way, and I just didn't know where he was gonna go, so trying to follow and just had to lift off. That's honestly a more likely option.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, this track is so hard. The track is so narrow anyway. Lap traffic's going to be dangerous no matter what.
Well, it's super fast. I mean, I've been in that position where I just want to get out of their way. I go low, they go low. I go high, they go high. I mean, they don't know where you're going. So, I mean, it's most definitely what it probably was. He went low, and he just followed him down there, and he's like, uh-oh, now you're in trouble. You're stuck. And then Kenny Powell capitalized on it.
Roy Hyde, though, finally does complete the pass on Kenny Powell and is now going to run away with the 8th position on course, and he'll likely be able to take a very safe position with that one to finish this one out. Second and third, looking to be closing a little bit. Greg Wyszynski dropping back even further, this time into the clutches of Wayne Grossi with 13 to go.
Yeah, Wayne Grossi, Superman, he is coming back to this field, and he's racing his way to a podium finish tonight. So he wants second place. He's been watching Greg Wyszynski and kind of just studying what lines he runs and where's going to be the perfect time when he gets up there to make the pass.
Schaffner comes down pit road, Brian. This is an interesting one. We didn't think we would be seeing this late in. Does this mean some guys in here might not be able to make it to the end?
I don't think so. I don't think that's really what the case is here. I think maybe Schaffner, did he have a problem?
Not that I saw. He's in there and he's taking 4 tires. This is an interesting call here from Schaffner. I'm going to wait and see if he's in there to fix damage or if he really is just getting 4 tires and running with it. He's getting 4 and running with it. That was a stop for Schaffner just to come down and get some fresh rubber and fuel.
I mean, we literally have 10 laps remaining in this race. I'm not sure if I agree with that call. I don't know what would have caused that. Maybe some handling issues, just feeling like, you have to take tires. I mean, if your car is ill handling, sometimes you just can't help it.
Or just shy on fuel. Could have just been that. He did come in, one of the earliest guys come in on everybody else. So, watch the rest of the field very close. Battle for second is on, side by side.
Oh boy, 21 was in there with these guys mixing it up, and looks like Wayne Grossi comes out second place. But I thought there was going to be a wreck. I mean, that 21 machine is wanting a piece of this bad, and he's a lap down.
Oh boy, it's been quite the race, hasn't it? I mean, what a season finale. Not to mention the first race as well, and actual playoffs for the Super Cup Series season. Now, of course, you'll have season number 4 to be running right alongside everybody else, coming through the Super Cup Series season. But it will be wrapping up before, the Super Cup Series season will wrap up before season 4 ends. So we're going to turn our focus fully on the Super Cup Series season until that ends after tonight. So that's obviously going to be a big story to note, but we'll get more into that one next week.
And it's just crazy to look at this and see all the attrition we've seen at this racetrack. I think it definitely lives up to its name. I mean, it's the Lady in Black. It has claimed a lot of race cars' lives tonight.
Well, if you would have told me at the beginning of this race we were going to be watching a green flag race, I'd have told you were crazy. I'd have said because I've been watching these races on Race This Track this week, and it's not been a green flag opportunity at all. I mean, not for very long. So these guys, again, showed every bit of their professionalism and showed that they know how to drive these cars and how to not only avoid the wrecks, but maintain.
Yeah, very difficult track to master 100%. I mean, every NASCAR driver you ever talk to will tell you this is a driver's track. This is the one you want to get under your belt. I mean, even if these guys, aren't doing it for championship spots or standings or whatever, it's going to mean a lot if you actually get a good finish here. Because, I mean, that just shows how good of a driver you really are to go through this gauntlet of a racetrack.
Yeah, Lady in Black is definitely not a track. It's too tough to tame, they say, and it's true. In this track, if you can't manage to get yourself around it without clipping the wall, then you're definitely not going to have a great finish. Some of these guys up here in the top 5 have managed. They might have clipped the wall 1 or 2 times, but they've managed to stay off of it. And look at Travis Manning. A big kudos to Travis Manning. I mean, if he'd have told me he was going to come in this thing and look like he was going to have a top 5 finish, after watching him, I'd have said you're nuts, because this car's got damage all over it. But he is come up here, and he is now in the 4th position.
Under 5 laps remaining. And for Justin Levine, he's got 8.6 seconds to work with over Wayne Grossi. Only 5 cars are left on the lead. Left contact with Brian Johnson. Justin Levine sends the 4 around, and somehow Brian Johnson saves it and has put a lap down in the process.
Wow, that was amazing. But it's still, I mean, he's still stuck in 5th position. All he needs to hope is that Chad Sullivan doesn't get around him. So the race is now going to be for 5th position. It's going to be between Chad Sullivan and Brian Johnson.
Well, yeah, well, what a cutthroat move from Justin Levine there, or Levine, you know, there. I mean, has such a gap between Wayne Grossi and him. I mean, wow. This guy definitely wants to win. Nothing is going to stop him from winning. And it's going to be really close here as we have about 3 laps to go now.
Well, you know, what you want to do is you want to put as many lap cars between you and the car that you're racing with behind you. And that's exactly what he did. But the risk that was very, very, very risky. Because if he went up there like that and clipped the inside of Brian could have lost it. And his front end could have came down and caught the rear end of Levine's and just spun him right out. I mean, so he would have lost. So that was very risky.
And here we go. Now going to be 2 laps to go. Looking for the white flag here shortly. What a race this has been. I mean, Justin Levine, I'm sorry, I keep messing up his name. He's probably going to yell at me when we interview him. But he has been doing such a great job out here. I mean, what a race this has been. I mean, it's been full of strategy. I mean, I swear we're playing a game of chess right now with the way this race has gone. As the white flag comes out.
Final lap of the race, Justin Levine in a class of his own. This race will finish caution-free, save for stages, and it'll be a race victory if Justin Levine can make it through these next 2 corners safe and sound, getting a bit tight to the wall on the edge of turn 3, but he's got 8 seconds to work with. Justin Levine over turn 4. He wins the ButtKicker 250 from the Darlington Raceway. He is not the true winner, though, today. That, my friends, is Kenny Powell, who's going to come home. He is your 2021 Season 3 ButtKicker Cup Series champion.
Well, congratulations to Justin Levine on that great finish there. It looks like Wayne Grossi, he might come in this thing. I think he comes in 2nd. And Greg Wachinski pulls out a 3rd. Travis Manning comes in 4th. Ryan Johnson comes in 5th. Chad Sullivan looks like he's going to round out a 6th position. It looks like Roy Hyde. Roy Hyde's coming in 7th. Kenny Powell is going to be our champion for this season. He's coming in 8th. And Josh Schaffner 9th. Running out the top 10 will be Randy Drumhill.
And it looks like they're waiting in line here. Justin Levine doing his burnout. I think Kenny Powell deserves one too. Looks like he's going to get one right after this.
With Drumhill rounded out the top 10, that's going to put Craig Johnson in 11th place with Paul Olsen in 12th. Connor Mulligan in 13th, one of the several drivers. I think the last driver to actually finish this race, and of course, now drivers that did not finish the race with Kyle Labrie and Brian Littleton starting them off. Well, Brian, you've got the rest of the unfortunates from tonight's race.
Yeah, for sure. We got 15th, Brian Littleton, 27 laps down. Corey Cook, 5 laps down. Unfortunate for him. I'm sorry. I think my overlay here, my ATVO is messing up for me, so I'm sorry if I can't continue it, but it's not showing me the right order here.
Corey Cook is 68 laps down. Matthew
more than
McMeekin
5.
is 75.
Sorry about that.
laps
It was
down.
showing the wrong thing.
Yeah. Justin Levine, he come in 18th, and he is 117 laps down. Chris Johnson coming in 19th. Running out the race of this field is Paul Regney, is 178 laps down.
What a race, though, here tonight from the Darlington Raceway. And no doubt we're going to be getting a lot of drivers. They're going to be wanting to come on up and give us a bit of a chat. And so far, I've only been able to find the one, and that has been Justin Levine. So we're going to send things down trackside with Al Kozlowski to interview our race winner, Justin Levine, here in the number 19.
Justin the Machine Levine. Al Kozlowski in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, I do.
What's going on, Justin? I mean, this is another Sunday drive for you on a Thursday night.
Oh, no, I had to work at it. I had to keep that car off the wall, and then I just had to keep my foot in it so that I wouldn't snap it.
So what was the game plan starting this out? I mean, you obviously had to known this was probably going to go green all the way. Did you have pit strategies in mind, or what were you thinking here?
I tried to switch it up on the first stage. I tried to take tires to see if that would be an advantage, and just see if in the second stage that I could just hold on. And it kind of backfired. So the second stage, I made sure that I only took fuel to make it to the end of the stage and be on the same tire strategy here. And the goal basically was keep the car as clean as possible. I kept it clean for 130 laps before getting the Darlington stripe, and I knew my car was way better at night, and I just had to make sure that I got it there.
Well, I definitely don't think anybody's leaving this race tonight, including myself, without having a stripe on the right-hand side of that car. But you were able to come in this race and finish it in the top position here. And you got any sponsors you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, first I gotta give a shout out to you guys. You guys do such a great job. I can't wait to go back and watch the broadcast. Gotta thank Kenny for having me in here and everything he does for this league. Gotta thank Frontline, all the work they did for this car this week. And gotta thank Abruzzi Racewear.
Well, congratulations, Justin the Machine Levain, on that top finish tonight, and we will see you next week. Congratulations, buddy.
Thank you. Have a good one.
We got a little bit of noise here. I don't know who that is on the background noise, but let's see if we can get a hold of second place. And Brian, see if you can get a hold of Wayne Grossi.
Well, actually, here, Wayne Grossi, I do believe he is the cause of that. I think he's probably got some fans in there, considering how long of a race this was. He probably needs them. Wayne, great job out there, second place. I mean, do you feel like you could have won this thing?
I really don't think I had anything for Jason. He was a little bit faster, so I'm pretty happy with second place.
I mean, what a job, though, out there. I mean, what went into the car? I mean, I actually shouldn't ask that. That's probably some secrets you probably want to keep. But you had a great, fast Camaro out there. I mean, was it all about limiting your mistakes, or what? Did you feel like you were fast?
No, I spent a lot of time on this car, mainly keeping it off the wall, having a setup that could stay off the wall consistently. My goal was to finish tonight with 0 incidents, and I did that, so I'm happy there. But the car was fast, and it just wasn't quite fast enough.
Well, you definitely proved you were fast enough to get second place for sure. But, do you feel like you lost a lot of time on pit road too? Because, I mean, it seemed like that's where Justin kind of outpaced you there, was on pit road. I mean, I feel like that undercut you pulled with one lap in between y'all's pit stops, I mean, could have proved, very fruitful. Do you feel like you lost some time on entry?
I probably did. I was just being really careful not to screw up. So I didn't want any mistakes tonight, so I was being very careful.
Well, Darlington kind of inspires that, doesn't it?
Sure does. Sure does.
Well, definitely a great work to you for sure, and we love to watch every bit of it. I mean, you definitely made the racing interesting. I'm sure all my commentary partners definitely agree. But great job to you, man. Anybody we can shout out for you?
Well, congrats to Jason for the win. Congrats to Al. He had a good run there. Drove me clean. Appreciate that. To thank ButtKicker for for sponsoring this thing. I really appreciate them. You guys and Al and the whole crew there put on a great show, and I appreciate you guys.
Well, we definitely appreciate you too. Hopefully, you're looking forward to the next season. Good luck to you.
Alrighty. Yeah. Thanks.
As our second place finisher, Wayne Grossi, coming on home with us on the podium. I'm going to move on down, and I'll pick up our third place finisher, Greg Wychinski. Greg, 11th to 3rd, you're one of the highest movers on the day. So overall, the podium finish is not bad at all.
Yeah, I'm pretty pleased with it. I definitely wasn't expecting that, that's for sure.
Well, talk to us a little bit about some of the challenges of the track. We're mentioning about how much attrition there was out there today, and no doubt you were one of those guys that you found out firsthand what a lot of that felt like.
Well, it's just such a strange race where, everybody had different pit strategies. I just tried to short pit every time, and it seemed to work out for me pretty good. I actually finished that race with 0 X's, which is remarkable. But, everybody raced really well,
Well, the racetracks continue to get shorter and shorter. Next week up, we go to Richmond Raceway. It's a 3/4 mile short track that obviously everybody knows and loves. What's going to be the plan coming into there?
I like Richmond. It's a good track for me. It's just keep the car clean, finish the race. I mean, that's the key to most of these tracks, particularly this one. Richmond's no different.
Amen to that, brother. I can't say I can disagree with you on that one. But before I let you go, anybody you'd like to shout out for your number 2 car?
Well, thanks to you guys. You guys do a great job every week. Thanks to Kenny who puts all this stuff on. All of my teammates over at G&G Racing. You guys work really hard every week to make good setups. I really didn't think that I would be the highest finishing G&G car today, but the other guys had some bad luck.
Well, thank you, Gray, for taking the time to come up and join us over here. Congratulations on the 3rd place finish. Best of luck next week at Richmond.
Thanks.
Well, now, guys, we got this whole race behind us here. Let's see if we can get a hold of who I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Nolan, is going to be our champion this year. Is that the 24 machine of Kenny Powell?
That is correct. Kenny Powell, the man of the hour. You're standing by with him.
Kenny Powell, Al Kozlowski in the booth. You got a copy?
I got a copy, Al.
Kenny Powell, we don't get to talk to you very often, and I guess it doesn't matter because when it comes to crunch time, you're the man. I'm getting word that you are our champion for this season.
That is the unofficial tally. I am doing the number crunching as we speak right this second, but doing the math before coming into the race, I needed to be 18th or better, which I think I accomplished that goal. I hate that Clayton wasn't able to be here. Clayton really, he ran his butt off and, deserves to win. But I did put myself in the situation I did and really happy with the way I ran this season. Man, I never thought that I would ever win a championship of this league. Maybe the first or second season that I put it together. But with the caliber of drivers we have in this league right now, I never thought that this would happen. So I'm ecstatic with it.
Well, as you should be. Consistency and attendance is exactly what you needed this season, and that's exactly what you did. That got you the win here. Unfortunately, we haven't seen some of the more consistently running drivers arriving at the track, but it doesn't sound like you're too sad about that.
Oh, definitely. I wish all the drivers would show up every week. But for this season 3, I think it has been no doubt, hands down, the best season we've ever had. Up until, this whole season, we've had over 20 cars in every race. Last week, I think, was one of the smallest fields at 28. Unfortunately, I don't know what happened tonight with the smaller field. But it's to be expected at the end of the seasons. Hopefully, we're getting ready to roll over into season 4. Hopefully, everybody that's here comes back, and maybe we'll fill in a couple spots for some new drivers.
Well, speaking of new drivers, you've got the microphone. Why don't you tell some folks that are watching how they can get involved with some of these drivings?
Yeah, we're getting ready to open up the league for some recruitment. You can find all the information you need at iRacingStockCarAssociation.com. That's their website. You can see the different series we have there. Read through all of our rules, guidelines, and there's information in there to how to join the league. You can also, within iRacing, just search out the ISCA league, and you'll find us. We're in there.
Well, you got a great finish tonight in the top 10, and congratulations again on your championship there. You don't get many of these opportunities, so I'm going to allow you the opportunity to give some shout-outs to maybe mom and dad, grandma and grandpa, nieces, nephews. Mikey's all yours.
I appreciate that. First and foremost, you guys, none of this would happen without Al and Brian and Nolan and Rob. You guys, you make it happen more so than I do. So huge shout out to you guys. G&G Racing, my teammates, man, we just continue to get better and better too, and are creating some good setups. So really happy with the way that's happening too.
Well, again, congratulations, Kenny Powell. And Brian, why don't you go ahead and close us out at this lovely lady in black?
Well, it definitely was a great race. I mean, it showed a lot of strategy, a lot of different things out there. But I definitely appreciate Kenny for sure. I mean, he kind of sells us, a little bit. He's definitely overestimating us a lot of, I mean, considering we're not the ones that actually put on this race. Majorly, the shout out should go out to all the drivers that participated tonight. Wouldn't you guys say?
Oh, absolutely. The drivers that show up week after week after week. It's pretty easy for us to come up here, sit here and watch a race and talk about it because there's really not much we're doing but talking. I mean, these guys have got their feet working, their hands working, their eyes are all over the place. They put on a hell of an inertia show here. I can't say enough about these guys. The professionalism is outstanding. Wouldn't you agree, Nolan?
I'd absolutely say so. I mean, it's incredible what these guys can do, coming in week after week, putting on good show after good show every single time. I'm definitely hoping to see, more of this racing going forward in the future because this season was just an absolute pleasure.
Well, guys, that's going to conclude tonight's broadcast, and we're going to end this season, but we have more to come. Nolan, I think we have the Super Cup Series coming up.
Yes, sir, we do. It's the Super Cup Series playoffs time. Tonight marked round number 1. We'll let you know how the points shakes up at Richmond for that 1 week break between the Super Cup, between the 2 Cup Series. It's time for turn attention, though, to that Super Cup Series season. We'll see you next week at the Richmond Raceway.